Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's Chef 90 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all, and y'all rocking with me. For this video, everybody has been requesting that I do a cooking video. Y'all want to see how we get down in the Florida chain gang. So I'm going to show y'all how to make a Florida prison brick. Not the kind of brick that I got hit with in the back of my head when he put it in a sock and boop. But the kind of brick that you eat. I'm going to break it down for you step by step. And I'm going to try to create the most authentic way you can make a prison style brick. Now, like in most prisons across the United States, we're going to start off with the bare necessities. We're going with the ramen. Now, we're kind of limited on the flavor here. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we are under quarantine, so you know, I've never heard of this brand, but we've got our tuna, our ramen, pickles, mayonnaise, ketchup. We've got some Doritos. We have the hot Cheetos, the flaming hot Cheetos. This is probably the most important thing for a prison brick. And then we've got a little bit of sugar. Normally we'll have the little sugar packets inside a prison. And we can't forget about our utensils. So, to make this video as authenticious as possible,
I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. Read the page,
I'm trying to
please.
make the shit sound fucking authentic. You got it all fucked up.
Authent what?
we're going to be using what we would actually use in prison. Now, we normally get red spoons. I got a little metal one. That would be turned into a knife in 2 seconds. We have our little chopper for the pickles. And we have our lock and a sock. I'm going to show y'all what we need this for in a little bit. Now, the very first step to making a brick is you're going to break down your ramen noodles. And I mean, you want to break these down into crumbs. You don't really want to bang it up in the bag. You don't want to burst the bag, because you somewhat need to keep everything clean and organized, especially inside a prison. You don't want the food falling down on the ground. You don't really have a clean surface. So what we do is we slap these shits right off of the floor. But keep in mind that doing so when people are asleep, that is one of the fastest ways to piss somebody off inside a jail or prison. So you want to make sure if you're going to be slapping these off the floor, nobody's sleeping, everyone's pretty much up, and it's usually around the same time after chow, the last chow, which would be dinner, that everybody's doing this at the same time anyways. So if you hear everyone else smacking them off the ground, go ahead and just jump into it. Wake up! But in all seriousness, you're just going to keep smacking them off the ground. They're going to break up. They should stay in the bag if you're not doing it too crazily. You don't want to throw it like He-Man. You don't want to burst it. But you want to break them up nice so that you can make the brick. Now, once you smash them up, they should look like that. You know what I mean? And it gets so gutter in the box that sometimes if you can get a soup, you're obviously not going to have anything to cook with. You'll just take the seasoning packet out, sprinkle it on top of this, and we'll call that chips. So, yeah, you don't want to be in confinement. But once you're done with the soups, you're going to go to the hot Cheetos. Now, hot Cheetos, you can't throw these off of the fucking floor. It's not going to do anything. They're just going to bounce around until the bag pops. So you have to break this up a little bit differently. Nah, I'm just playing. But how we'll do this, though, is what I like to do is open the bag just a little bit, and you're going to let all that air out of it. So once you have the air out of the bag, which is like half of the bag, you can see what's flat, what's not, and you really don't need this on a sock. I just did that just because I know y'all would like that shit. But what I do is I beat down the hot Cheetos. Now you want to make sure that you're not popping the ass end of the bag, because you need this bag to cook with. This is very vital. This is the most important piece of everything that we're doing. Now, once you're done firing up the hot Cheetos with the lock, you want it to look like this. You want the Cheetos to look like seasoning. It's all right if you got a couple of little, rocks in there, but you pretty much want it to be dusty. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the crumbs from the ramen, which look the same, and we're going to put them inside of this bag and mix it together. Don't forget to take this out. So start mixing it after the first one and then drop in the second one. And we're going to do the same thing. We want to mix them up because the hot Cheetos is what's going to bind the brick together. And if you want to put a seasoning packet, if you're only doing 2 soups, you can do a half of a seasoning or 1, depending on how salty you want it. Definitely don't do 2. I remember the time I cooked with Bimbo, we put in 6 soups. I put in all 6 seasonings. It was fucking disgusting. Now, as y'all can see, it's pretty mixed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop up our pickle. We're going to drop the pickle in here, and then we're going to cook the brick. Alright, boom. Now that the pickles are done, what we're going to do is the same way we mixed up the ramen with the hot Cheetos, we're going to do the same thing with the pickles. So the pickles is actually going to cook with the hot Cheetos, and it's going to be bomb. You can put sausage if you want to, like you can chop up sausage or whatever. I didn't, just because, you know, quarantine, I couldn't find any that actually went with the brick. But yeah, so if you were gonna chop up sausage, pickle, whatever, now would be the time to do so, and you would put it in before it actually cooks. So now that that's done, we're gonna mix this up, and then we're gonna add hot water. So our pickle hot Cheeto mix is looking good. I know that probably looks disgusting to some of y'all, but I would eat this just like this. But what we're gonna do to cook this is we're gonna add hot water. Now in Florida prisons, we have this little thing that produces hot water, but you know, in the cell that I'm in currently, I have this thing right here. So we're gonna let that get hot. We're gonna put that in there. We're gonna massage it around, and then we're gonna let it cook. All right, now that the water is hot, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put it in the bag. If you're a jackass, you're gonna hold the bag at the bottom. It's gonna burn the shit out of you. So you wanna hold the sides if you were in prison, because the faucet will go right down. But what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna hold the side of the bag as I pour in this hot water. Now you don't want a lot. You want enough that it kind of starts going down a little bit, and it's gonna build up at the bottom. So what you're gonna wanna do is, you know, quickly, obviously, because it's pretty damn hot, you're just gonna start massaging it, and you're gonna get, you know, the wet noodles at the bottom to go to the top, so that the dry noodles on the top can make their way down to the bottom, because you want the whole thing to be absorbing the hot water, which is essentially gonna blow up the noodles and cook with the Cheetos. And of course, if you need to add a little bit more water, you can do so. But literally, the only way you mess this up is if you add too much water. It's just gonna ruin everything. Now, once you've done enough mixing and moving, it kind of turns into this clump right here. And what you want to do is you want to force it all the way down to the bottom of the bag without popping it. You're gonna fold over the top right here, and then you're gonna start to flatten it out. And when you flatten it out, it's gonna start taking the shape of the bag itself. So you're gonna keep going, because you want it to get as close to the edge as possible, but still have this flap over in case there's any excess juice. It's not leaking out. And normally someone would wrap it up with a t-shirt so that the heat would stay inside of the bag and it cooks even longer. So once we've gotten that shape, we're just gonna sit it like this. We're gonna let it cook. I mean, we can put something on top of it just to compress that down. I just wanted to point out how I was using my lock to bust up the Cheetos. That normally isn't gonna be a big deal, but a lot of people will use locks to shape knives, beat them down with whatever. And inside of the youth offender prisons, if your lock has any damage or bumps, you can actually go to confinement for being in possession of a weapon. They're gonna assume that that bump is from smacking it off somebody's head. Let's get back to the brick. All right, so we should be good. We've given it some time to cook. It still feels nice and warm. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pick it up. We're gonna flip it. Make sure everything is nice and intact, nice and square. You can see how it has this brick form. And right here at the very end, what we're gonna do is tear that. If you can't tear it, bite it. Now once you have that ripped, you're just gonna follow the seam all the way up. And carefully right here at the end, tear it that way. And hopefully we can get this other side. Boom. And right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a brick.
I got bricks on me, bricks on me. Might as well say I got bricks on me.
But we're not done. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna slide it off. Just like that there. And we're gonna add our toppings. The first thing that we're gonna add is the tuna. Now, obviously, in prison, you're not going to get a can of tuna. It's going to come in a little container, like a little fucking plastic thing or whatever. But pretty much the same shit. And we're just going to spread it throughout the brick itself. Now, once that's done, we're going to add on our ketchup, our mayonnaise, and then our sugar. And I don't know why, but when you put sugar packets on this, it just makes like the spiciness sweet, and it just goes really goddamn good. And last but not least, we're gonna add some Doritos. What we're gonna do with the Doritos is we're gonna take a few, put them in this bag, crush them up, and pour it on top. And voila.
Free bands. I see you, Rocco. Well, let's go.
So boom, dinner is served. I hope y'all like the video. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to eat this shit because I actually just ate. And I'm not in prison anymore. But from time to time, I do make these. I do enjoy these. And if y'all want to see more of these cooking videos, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. But hey, it's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with y'all, and y'all rocking with me. Till next time.